Hey everybody, it's Alice from Arms, Armor, and Awesome, or AAA Cosplay. I'm back with the second video in my series about face and body painting for costumes or cosplay. In this video, I'm going to apply basically the water-based makeup and the alcohol-based makeup in different techniques to show you how I do it, how I like to do it, and how it works for me. So first thing I'm going to do is put on contacts. Unfortunately, I can't find my regular contacts, so I'm going to be wearing my costume contacts. So that'll be fun. I'm going to wear those, and I'm also going to put on a wig cap, make sure my face is washed, my lips are exfoliated, because if you're going to be applying a full face paint, you want to make sure that you put on lipstick as well. When you're wearing lipstick, you want to make sure that your lips are a nice clean canvas. To do so, I usually use e.l.f. lip exfoliator. It looks like this. It's basically just, it has little beads in there. It comes off as clear, but it's really good for exfoliating. If you don't have this, you can just use a toothbrush or a wet cloth. So I will do that, and I'll be right back with you. I'm back. I have on the contacts and the wig cap to keep my hair out of my face, and you would want to do this before you put on any kind of makeup or body paint for your costume. Now I am wearing my costume contacts. These are for Zagara for BlizzCon 2014. These are from FX Eyes. I didn't want to wear these just because I didn't want to distract from the rest of the video with the body paint and stuff, but I can't find my normal contacts. Now, I do have astigmatism, so I had to order from FX Eyes. They're one of the only companies online that do custom contacts with crazy colors like this. So very rarely will I have costume contacts, but BlizzCon is special for me, so I generally try to get contacts for that. I'll put a link down below to the type of contacts this is, because I don't quite remember the name, but I do know they're from FX Eyes. Now, to begin, I'm going to start with the airbrush. I'm not going to do the alcohol activated airbrush makeup. I'm saving this for Zagara, and since I'm going to be doing pretty much purple for my face, I decided I'm going to show you how you can make airbrush makeup out of your water activated. So I just put maybe 3 tablespoons of water or so in here, and I'm mixing it around with my paintbrush. I would not suggest this if you're going to paint it with a paintbrush, but with an airbrush, the paint needs to be thin enough to go through the airbrush. You don't want to clog it. So I'm just going to mix this until it's right where it needs to be. And I'm going to test it on my hand. That looks nice. So that's a nice consistency. I wouldn't usually use this consistency for painting on because, as you can see, it's not quite so opaque. I would usually, with a paintbrush, I'm going to wipe that off. I would usually with a paintbrush make it go a little bit thicker, but you'll see that a little later. I'm just going to leave it as purple. So I'm going to pour it actually into a cup first because it's very wide. I don't need that much, but I don't really need this paint anymore, so I just mixed up a bunch, and then I'm going to pour it into this, making a mess. You don't need that much. It only needs to be about half full. And then I'm going to use this, and I suppose I will paint it, how about right on my arm. I was going to do it here, but I'll do it on my arm so that I can see it and I can show you guys at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this. I'm going to pull back and make sure that there it goes. Doing what it needs to do. I'm sorry that my hand looks so dirty. It's got alcohol activated makeup on it. I couldn't get it fully off without really scrubbing, and I don't feel like doing that right now. So with an airbrush, if you don't know how to use an airbrush, you pull it back, nothing happens. You have to press down and pull it back. How hard you press down makes the air go. It's You can hear it's going a little bit lighter or harder. So I'm going to press down, I'm going to pull back, and I'm going to keep continuously moving for, because otherwise it's just going to pull up. You don't want to be too close, or again, it will pull up. And you need to keep going over it so that it is opaque. As you can see, it is pretty wet right now. I would wait until it's dry, so we're gonna do that. So this is basically dry. It's still wet in this part, but I just wanted to show you here what I would normally do. So I take my barrier spray, I'm just making sure you hold it about a foot away and you just mist it. Now it's wet again, but that's okay, we're gonna let it sit. I'm just gonna use a fan. Now, I do suggest having a fan if you're doing face painting, especially if you want to speed it up a little bit, because it takes a little while to dry. Now, I don't personally like to airbrush water-based makeup because I really like having an opaque finish, and I don't know if you can tell with the camera, but I can see it here. You can still see my veins. It's very thin. It's good for some costumes. It depends on what costume you're doing. But it does have a nice thin finish, but it does take longer to dry, at least in my experience. So it only took about half a capful to do this much, which isn't bad. Ignore that, I touched it before it was dry. So I put the setting spray on it, and then I would put a setting powder on it. I have Mehron's Color Set Powder. And I just use a sponge for this. I just get a little bit on the sponge, and then I press it into it. I would also use a brush, actually. It's a little bit faster for larger areas. So I'm gonna grab this guy. I'm gonna dip him down in there and get some powder on it. And then I basically just buff it in. And then it's set. Not coming off. Awesome. So, like I said, this is still a little wet, just ignore that. And then you want to squeeze it out. By the way, welcome to my laundry room. I have to tell you that. I have random Kerrigan pieces over here. That's just an old wig. So here's the sponge with water. Here's the sponge without. You can see the difference. This helps it to not soak in so much of the makeup when you're putting it on. And that's a tip for foundation as well if you're putting on foundation. So I'm going to do purple, because why not? But later on I will do a white color on the back of my arm to show you how to make it lighter and opaque if you're trying to make your skin a little bit lighter. So there's still a little bit of water in here, but I'm still going to show you. I'm going to spray some water, just a few sprays, and then I'm going to take, you know what, I'm going to use a brush to mix it in, just to make sure it's mixed to the right opacity. So I hope that so see how thick this paint is now. If you add in more and more, or you can see how thin it was with the airbrush. It was like water. So I like to make it nice and thick when I'm painting it on. And let's see how it does with the sponge as well. So I'm just going to take the sponge, I'm going to dip it in. It's going to soak up a little bit, but that's okay, and then we're going to sponge it on. And I'm just going to move a little bit over here so I can actually see in the mirror. And you want to apply it with tapping motions. You can see how much it soaked up, but I'm going to put some more water in there and do it again. Mix it in. Make sure to get the excess off of the brush. You don't want it hanging out on the brush when you're using the sponge. And then I don't want to swipe too much because that can actually take off the color. If you're doing it on top of other ones. Now, this is wet. This is my first layer. I'm going to let it dry. And while I'm waiting for it to dry, I'm going to show you how I do it with a brush. So same thing, spray it in. And I'm going to use a larger brush this time to mix it. I'm going to spray some more water because this isn't quite as much paint as I was hoping for the first swipe. This is a little bit thinner than what I used for the sponge, but it still looks really nice. If in doubt, test it on the back of your hand or someplace that you haven't painted yet. So I'm going to go ahead and start on my face. I usually just start on the cheek. Make sure that you get your ear, unless your ear is going to be covered with hair. But even then, your ear can poke through. So you want to make sure to cover it. What may be seen. So right away, I hope you can see the difference with the first layers of the paintbrush versus the sponge. The sponge is very, very splotchy. The paintbrush does have some spots, but for the most part, it is opaque. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my face with the first layer. I'll show you how to do my ears. A little bit of smaller brush. If you have a friend rooming with you, have them do the back of your ears as well. I'm also going to use a smaller brush to get more in my eyes. I'm not going to cover all the way around my eyes, but I do want to get under my eyes. Because up here we'll have makeup. So, first layer. Once again, the difference between the face and the neck, you can see. I obviously didn't cover my entire neck, but I'm not doing it for a costume today, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use a fan, and you want to let it dry. This won't take very long. Use much less water than you did for the airbrush. And also remember that it's going to dry differently than it looks wet on you, and it's also going to photograph differently than what it looks like in person. For example, the paint that I used for my witch doctor is a very red color, as you can see. However, on me, after it dried and it photographed very brown. So keep that in mind. Make sure to do swatches and take it with different types of cameras and in different lighting to make sure that the color matches exactly what you're looking for. Now, this is dry. I'm going to use the setting spray. I'm just going to spritz. Do this too. tends to dry pretty quickly. You want to make sure that you don't spray it too close so that it runs, because it'll make your makeup come off because it is a liquid. However, if you just spritz it, it's going to help your makeup stay on. I always use a setting spray in between every single layer. So, second layer. Let's get wet again. I'm going to do the sponge first. I'm just mixing it in with the brush. And again, my mirror is over here. And I'm going to put it in places that needs the extra coverage. So any splotchy places. Second coat still feels really splotchy to me. We'll give a few more coats. Let's do the second coat for the face. Also, this paint shows just how long it lasts. This paint is 5 years old. I first used it in 2009 and it's still just fine. So, face. And I'm back, sorry, the SD card got filled up. So anyway, we have 2 coats on the face, 2 coats on the neck. The neck is still a little blotchy, but I'm going to do what I can to fill that in. There are a few spots, let me see, about here, here, on my nose, here. I didn't put spray on it. I wanted to do that on camera, so I'm going to do that. So, I wanted to show you this. Obviously, that was my mistake. I put a little bit too much liquid there, so ignore that. But this, you can tell, pretty good. I don't have anything on my hand. This is airbrushed, nice and thin, very nice. Obviously, if it's rubbing against clothes or something, this is my work towel, so I apologize. It's messy. It's going to rub a little bit, as you can see. That's just how it is, though. Now, the spray is dry. I'm going to do one more coat. This guy is still wet. Let's put some more water in here and mix it in. Let's see what we can do about getting this nice and opaque. Still not quite happy with it, but whatever. I don't like doing more than 3 coats. It takes an awful long time. Okay, let that dry. And I'm going to spray the setting spray, just a few more spritz. Make sure it's even. You feel it all over your face. Just let it dry. Then I'm going to set it with a powder. Once again, we have the Color Set powder from Mehron. And I'm going to use a big fluffy brush. Put this into a cap. Roll around and pat it on. Awesome! And see, none of it came off on the brush. Yay. Okay, so the next video is going to cover contouring and makeup. Before I end this video, I want to give my thoughts on the different application methods. Airbrushing I don't have the patience for, honestly. I'm a pretty impatient person. But I will be airbrushing for BlizzCon this year with these guys. Now those guys had a little bit of a different opacity as far as airbrush makeup goes. This, maybe I could have put it a little bit thicker. I just wasn't quite happy with it. It would need a few layers. This took quite a while to dry, way faster, or way longer than my face and neck did. As far as the sponge, I didn't like it much. It soaks up the product, not a ton, but it still soaks it up. And honestly, I guess it needs 2 or 3 more layers in order to be opaque. Now you saw how fast my face was opaque. Brushes all the way. I just really prefer these guys to anything else. When it's come to my application, it's fast. I only need 2, maybe 3 max coats. It lasts all day. It's easy to apply with a thick brush. You can have multiple people going at once. I mean, you can do that with a sponge too, and if you have several airbrushes, but still, it covers a lot of space and fast. So those are my thoughts. If I had a choice, I would go with painting it on. I will do a Zagara video with the airbrush makeup if I decide, because I am going to do one, a test run with an airbrush. That's another thing. Always test your costume and your makeup. To see how it photographs, to make sure that you know how you're doing it, to make sure if you need to change anything. But anyway, I am going to do a test run and I will video that and do it with the airbrush, and we'll see, because I know that I can also brush that on with a paintbrush. So I will see you in the next video.